The mind of Neil Blomkamp works like every hyper-realist science fiction artist. Take a relatable global issue that's obvious to a viewer, mask it with mature pseudo-probability, and pander it to the creative conversationalist. Chappie examines the social theory of human consciousness. How we think, how we feel, and the way we act is predominantly influenced by the behaviours and social circumstances around us. The consciousness which Chappie is assigned to serves as a manifestation of what the early sociologist Elim Durkheim refers to as the collective conscience of society. Bear in mind that Chappie is never doing things out of his own independence until much later in the narrative. Up until then, his actions and behaviour are provided by the people around him. It's the primary socialization process, the one in which beliefs and ideas that are considered acceptable and normal in society are instilled upon a child by the much wiser and considerably more experienced parents or guardians. Chappie's existence is universal. He ironically serves an inevitably new function to society, which according to functionalist theory is perpetuating the smooth running of society by continuing the social norm. If indeed Chappie's recognised parents are criminals who serve negative purposes. If Talcott Parsons is anything to go by, the family is an institutional factory which produces the next citizens, and Chappie, being a manufactured product, is no different from the upbringing of a child. It's just that we look at the family with far more sensitive eyes. But when we consider Chappie's relationship with Dian, his creator, the man that conceived him, Yolanda, his identifiable mother, and Ninja, his emotionally conflicting stepfather, we see the effects of the socially constructed family dynamic. Firstly, we have the class distinction. Dian is quick to assume the middle-class position of telling Chappie to ignore the socialization of Yolanda and Ninja because of their deviant and unconventional nature. Dian conveys the distrustful generalization that they are bad and support the wrong norms. Pierre Bouvier actually attributed this as the cultural capital notion, in which Dian, maintaining a strong work ethic and desirable appearance, believes he possesses the right norms and aims to help Chappie achieve a developed social conscience. Despite Dian's attempts, Chappie is ultimately surrounded by what society deems as unacceptable. But considering his lack of understanding about the greater world, Chappie and his adopted parents, who grew up in such drastic conditions, see this as normal. Edwin Sutherland actually theorized this as differential association. We learn through the interactions of others and our environment, which in the case of Chappie's world is one in which violence is rationalized and acceptable. His experiences with violence and disorder is culturally transmitted, and this is the same kind of issue in regards to those sheltered from the wider world. Our lack of awareness makes us susceptible to falsehood. Ninja is a core component of Chappie's socially poor upbringing. Ninja solely wants to use Chappie out of selfishness and manipulates him into accepting certain social actions as the norm, such as the way he walks, talks, and interacts with others. Chappie conflicts with Dian's notion that violence is wrong, but with Ninja, helping people to go to sleep is okay. Ninja basically counteracts deviant behaviour using positive socialization. He contradicts the consensus to achieve an unacceptable outcome. He essentially makes Chappie a child soldier by convincing him that deviant activities are good. Ninja's behaviour goes further by imposing on Chappie's moral social knowledge. Yolanda does all she can. She comforts Chappie and makes him feel safe, but is ultimately overshadowed by the aggressive Ninja. His assertion of dominance imposes on Chappie's identification. For example, Chappie is consciously aware of gender roles, as he plays with a female doll that idolizes his mother. This social activity, which is usually reserved for girls, is seen as deviant to Ninja because it negates the bravado masculine stereotype that he desperately attempts to mirror onto Chappie. Feminist Anne Oakley distinguishes these perceptions of gender identity. We have the manipulation of self-image as the parents try to mimic their experiences onto Chappie. There is the canalization in which parents channel Chappie's interests, and then there's the verbal abolition, which refers to the use of language to define identity, such as swearing or using a complex vocabulary. Chappie's search for his identity is challenged by his upbringings within the narrative. It's not only the imbalance of his modest mother and aggressive stepfather, it's also his misconception of the world and disconnection from reality. His distant relationship with Dean establishes conflicts, not simply because of Dean's neglect, but because of the contention between what is conceived as good in the world and what is perceived as bad. Chappie's personality is shaped by his unstable connections with the extremities of society. His independence only truly begins to emerge as his awareness and social analysis begins to function. By the conclusion, he disrupts the social harmony of functionalism in exchange for individualism, in which he becomes liberal in his interpretation of the world, and can truly embrace new ideas by himself without regards for the influence of others. The fact is, the family is only one institution in a much larger world, a world Chappie has yet to understand, in fact, a world that not many of us clearly understand either.